What if I told you that every night, when you lay your head on your pillow, you're actually stepping into the most powerful manifestation chamber known to humanity? That while your body rests, your subconscious mind becomes a divine workshop where miracles are not just possible but inevitable. Tonight, something extraordinary is about to happen. As you prepare for sleep, you're not simply ending another day. You're entering what Joseph Murphy called a sacred space prepared by infinite spirit, where the very gates of wealth swing open and divine provision flows without a single obstruction. Has this ever happened to you? You've gone to bed worried about money, stressed about bills, anxious about your financial future, only to wake up with an inexplicable sense of peace, or perhaps even discover an unexpected opportunity waiting in your inbox. This isn't coincidence. This is spiritual law in action. While the world sleeps, while your conscious mind finally quiets its endless chatter of doubt and limitation, your subconscious becomes what I like to call the divine receiver, completely open, utterly receptive, and perfectly aligned with the frequency of abundance that governs the entire universe. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. You see, most people approach sleep as merely a biological necessity, a time for physical restoration. But what you're about to discover might surprise you. Sleep is actually your most sacred appointment with wealth itself. Not the kind of wealth that comes through grinding and striving, but the effortless abundance that flows when you align with spiritual law. Tonight, we're going to explore how ancient wisdom meets modern manifestation, how the simple act of listening to specific abundance affirmations while you sleep can literally reprogram your financial reality at the deepest level. We're talking about transforming not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with money, prosperity, and your own divine worth. The truth is, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what's real. It simply accepts whatever information you consistently feed it. And during those precious hours of sleep, when your logical mind stops interfering, when your doubts finally quiet down, that's when the magic happens. That's when wealth consciousness gets installed like software into the hard drive of your soul. Joseph Murphy understood this profound truth when he wrote about the power of the sleeping state to magnetize miracles. He knew that when you enter this holy appointment with the law of abundance, you're not just hoping for change. You're commanding it through the divine authority of your aligned subconscious mind. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to transform not just your sleep, but your entire financial destiny. We're about to dive deep into the sacred mechanics of overnight abundance, where every affirmation becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of infinite possibility. If these abundance principles resonated with you, click that subscribe button and join our community of conscious creators. We're exploring these powerful truths together on this journey of transformation. If these revelations open something within you, I'd love to have you join our community of conscious creators. Think about this for a moment. You didn't stumble upon this message by accident. Your presence here right now at this exact moment in your life is part of what spiritual teachers call a divine pattern. There's something profound happening behind the scenes of your journey, something that goes far beyond mere coincidence or random chance. The fact that you're here listening to these words about abundance and transformation reveals that you're being guided toward a perfect realignment with universal law. Here's a hidden truth that most people never discover. Every delay you've experienced, Every financial setback that left you questioning your worth, every moment when prosperity seemed just out of reach, none of it was punishment. It was preparation. The universe has been orchestrating your readiness for this very moment of awakening. You see, Spirit has never withheld good from you, not once, not ever. All the supply you've been seeking, all the health you've been praying for, all the love and success that feels so distant, it's already completed in divine mind. It already bears your name. It's already vibrating toward you at frequencies beyond what your physical senses can detect. But here's where the real revelation begins to unfold. Your subconscious mind has been programmed by years of worldly conditioning to expect struggle, to anticipate scarcity, to brace for disappointment. These aren't your true thoughts. They're inherited patterns, learned behaviors, societal imprints that have created invisible barriers between you and your natural birthright of abundance. During sleep, something miraculous happens. These barriers begin to dissolve. Your conscious mind, with all its learned limitations and fearful projections, finally steps aside. Your subconscious becomes like fertile ground, ready to receive new seeds of possibility. And when you feed it the right vibrations, the right frequencies, the right spiritual truths during those sacred hours, transformation occurs at the deepest cellular level. The ancient mystics understood this process intimately. They knew that true manifestation doesn't happen through force or desperate effort, but through divine alignment. When you surrender into sleep while listening to abundance affirmations, you're not just hoping for change. You're participating in the very mechanics of creation itself. Your brain waves shift into theta and delta frequencies, the same states that shamans and spiritual masters have accessed for millennia to perform what the world calls miracles. In these states, your mind becomes incredibly receptive to new programming. Every word of abundance you hear begins to overwrite decades of scarcity programming. Every affirmation of wealth starts dissolving the invisible contracts you unknowingly signed with limitation. This isn't positive thinking or wishful imagination. This is sacred science. Neuroscience now confirms what spiritual teachers have known for centuries. That repetitive exposure to specific frequencies and affirmations during sleep can literally rewire your neural pathways, creating new thought patterns that naturally attract different outcomes. Now, I want to go even deeper into this transformation process, because understanding the mechanics behind overnight abundance programming will revolutionize not just how you sleep, but how you relate to money, success, and your own infinite potential. The impact of what happens during those 8 hours of divine programming extends far beyond the bedroom. It shapes your decisions, influences your actions, and ultimately determines the trajectory of your entire financial destiny. What's fascinating is that beneath all the surface turbulence of your financial life, the bills, the budgets, the banking alerts, there flows what spiritual masters have called the golden river of prosperity. This isn't metaphorical language. It's a living reality that exists beyond the physical realm. This river has been flowing beneath your life since the moment you were born, constant and unending, never diminished by any appearance of lack or struggle you might be experiencing. Most people live their entire lives walking on dry ground, completely unaware that just beneath their feet flows an infinite stream of divine abundance. They make decisions based on scarcity, create strategies rooted in fear, and exhaust themselves trying to squeeze water from stones, all while standing directly above the most abundant source of prosperity in existence. If you've recognized yourself in any part of this message, write "Awakening Now" in the comments. I'd love to know who's ready for this profound transformation of consciousness. The revelation that changes everything is this: you don't need to create abundance. You don't need to attract it, manifest it, or earn it through some complex spiritual gymnastics. You simply need to dip into what's already flowing. You need to step down from the harsh terrain of struggle and immerse yourself in the golden current that has been waiting for your recognition all along. During sleep, when your analytical mind stops building dams of doubt and limitation, this river naturally begins to surface. Your subconscious becomes like a divining rod, naturally drawn to the wealth frequency that's been calling your name. This is why some people wake up with million-dollar ideas, why breakthrough solutions appear in dreams, why morning inspiration often carries the seeds of life-changing transformation. But here's where the journey takes a profound turn. The barriers that have been blocking your abundance aren't external circumstances or economic conditions. They're internal thought patterns that have been programmed into your subconscious since childhood. These hidden barriers operate beneath your conscious awareness, silently, sabotaging your financial success without you even realizing it. Think about the messages you absorbed growing up. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. You have to work hard for every dollar. There's never enough to go around. These weren't just casual remarks. They were powerful programming statements that embedded themselves deep in your subconscious mind, creating what psychologists now call your money blueprint, the invisible architecture that determines your financial destiny. Subscribe now to continue your abundance journey with us. Each new meditation builds upon these foundations to help you fully activate your prosperity consciousness. The truly liberating insight is that these barriers aren't permanent. They're simply programs running in your mental operating system, and like any software, they can be updated, overwritten, or completely replaced. This is where the transformative power of sleep comes into play in ways most people never discover. During your waking hours, these limiting beliefs are protected by what neuroscientists call the critical faculty, that analytical part of your mind that filters and questions new information. When someone tells you abundance is your birthright, your critical faculty immediately jumps in with objections. If that's true, why am I struggling? Or, that sounds nice, but it's not realistic in today's economy. But behind the scenes, something remarkable happens when you fall asleep. That critical faculty, which has been vigilantly guarding your limiting beliefs, finally goes offline. The protective barrier between your conscious and subconscious mind dissolves, creating what Joseph Murphy called the perfect environment for mental alchemy, the transformation of leaden thoughts into golden consciousness. In this receptive state, your mind becomes impressionable in ways that simply aren't possible during waking hours. The subconscious, now unguarded and open, becomes fertile ground ready to receive new seeds of possibility. Abundance affirmations that might have been rejected during the day sink directly into the depths of your mind, taking root in places where no conscious resistance can reach them. This isn't just inspirational theory. Modern neuroscience has mapped the brainwave patterns that occur during different states of consciousness. During deep sleep, your brain produces delta waves, the slowest frequency, but with the highest amplitude. These powerful waves create the perfect conditions for what scientists call neural plasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. The impact of this process extends far beyond just feeling more positive about money. It literally rewires the neural pathways associated with abundance, success, and prosperity. Where there were once pathways of limitation and scarcity, new highways of possibility and opportunity begin to form. This cellular-level transformation changes not just what you think about wealth, but how you perceive opportunities, how you make financial decisions, and how naturally you allow abundance to flow into your life. What makes this approach so revolutionary is that it bypasses the conscious mind's resistance entirely. You don't have to convince yourself to believe new ideas about wealth. You don't have to win arguments with your inner critic. You simply allow these new programs to be installed while you sleep, much like your computer installs updates overnight while you're away from the keyboard. The journey to financial freedom isn't about forcing change through willpower. It's about removing the barriers that have been blocking what naturally wants to flow to you. It's about dissolving the dams of doubt that have been holding back your river of prosperity. And sleep provides the perfect environment for this dissolving process to occur effortlessly and naturally. If you're resonating with this deeper understanding of how your subconscious creates or blocks your financial reality, type dissolving barriers in the comments. I'm curious how many of you are ready to remove these hidden obstacles from your prosperity path. Now, I want to explore the fascinating science behind what makes sleep such a powerful catalyst for transformation. When you drift into slumber, your brain doesn't simply shut down. It shifts into entirely different operating modes that create the perfect environment for profound change. As consciousness begins to fade and sleep deepens, your brain waves gradually slow down, moving through specific frequencies that neuroscientists have mapped with remarkable precision. First comes alpha, that relaxed state between wakefulness and sleep, followed by theta, a dreamlike state of heightened creativity and intuition. Finally, your brain descends into delta waves, the slowest, deepest frequency where healing and regeneration accelerate. What makes these theta and delta states so extraordinary for abundance work is their unique receptivity. In these frequencies, the boundary between your conscious and subconscious mind becomes incredibly permeable. This isn't just spiritual theory. It's a measurable phenomenon that researchers have documented in sleep labs around the world. Your brain literally enters what scientists call a hypersuggestible state, where new information can be absorbed directly into your subconscious without the filtering, questioning, and resistance that occurs during waking hours. Think of it like the difference between trying to plant seeds in sun-baked clay versus rich, moist soil after a gentle rain. The same seeds, but vastly different results based on the receptivity of the ground. During sleep, your mind becomes that perfectly prepared soil, ready to nurture whatever seeds of prosperity consciousness are planted there. This is why Joseph Murphy emphasized the sacred science of sleep programming. He understood that affirmations heard during these theta and delta states aren't just positive thoughts floating through your awareness. They're actual programming commands being installed into your mental operating system at the deepest level. Every word of abundance you hear begins overwriting decades of scarcity programming, creating new neural pathways that fundamentally change how you perceive and interact with money. The revelations from modern neuroscience have validated what mystics have known for centuries. Research using advanced brain imaging techniques has shown that repetitive exposure to specific frequencies and affirmations during sleep literally rewires neural pathways. This process, known as neuroplasticity, allows your brain to form new connections and patterns that naturally attract different outcomes in your waking life. Behind the scenes of this mental rewiring, something even more profound is happening. Each affirmation isn't just changing your thoughts, it's altering the very frequency at which your energy field vibrates. Quantum physicists have demonstrated that everything in existence, including thoughts and emotions, operates at specific vibrational frequencies. Scarcity consciousness vibrates at a heavy, dense frequency that naturally repels abundance. Prosperity consciousness, on the other hand, vibrates at a higher, more refined frequency that naturally magnetizes wealth and opportunity. During those precious hours of sleep, when your conscious resistance is offline and your subconscious is fully receptive, these higher vibrational patterns can be embedded into your energy field with remarkable efficiency. It's like a spiritual tuning fork, gradually adjusting your personal frequency until it naturally resonates with the abundance that has been waiting for you all along. The impact of this vibrational shift extends far beyond just your financial circumstances. As your consciousness elevates through these nighttime downloads, you'll begin noticing subtle but profound changes in how opportunities find you, how solutions appear in your awareness, and how synchronicities multiply in your daily experience. This isn't wishful thinking or metaphysical speculation. The most cutting-edge research in fields like epigenetics and psychoneuroimmunology has shown that our thoughts and beliefs literally influence our physical reality down to the cellular level. The mindset shifts that occur during sleep programming don't just change how you feel about money, they alter the biochemical environment of your body, affecting everything from your stress hormones to your immune function to your decision-making capabilities. The journey of transformation that unfolds through this sacred science often surprises people with its elegance and efficiency. Instead of struggling for years with conscious techniques like visualization or affirmations that the waking mind often resists, sleep programming bypasses this resistance entirely. The changes that occur feel natural and effortless because they're happening at a level beyond conscious interference. It's as if the divine intelligence within you finally has unrestricted access to reprogram the limiting beliefs that have been holding you back. Each night becomes an opportunity for what spiritual masters call divine downloads, direct transmissions of prosperity consciousness that gradually replace the scarcity programming you've unknowingly been operating from. If you're beginning to sense the profound potential of these nighttime transformations, type "divine downloads activated" in the comments. I'm fascinated to connect with others who intuitively recognize the power of this sacred science. Now, I want to explore what might be the most profound paradigm shift in our understanding of abundance. What if prosperity isn't something you need to pursue, chase, or even manifest? What if it's already here, flowing beneath the surface of your life like an underground river of pure gold, waiting only for you to sink your bucket into its depths? If you found value in this meditation, please take a moment to hit that like button. It helps others discover these life-changing principles. This golden river of prosperity isn't a poetic metaphor or wishful thinking. It's a living reality that exists beyond the physical realm, continuously flowing beneath the surface turbulence of your financial life. The bills, the budgets, the bank statements that seem to define your economic reality. This river has been flowing since the moment you were born, constant and unending, never diminished by any appearance of lack or struggle you might be experiencing. The hidden truth that transforms everything is this: most people spend their entire lives walking on dry ground, completely unaware that just beneath their feet flows an infinite stream of divine abundance. They make decisions from a mindset of scarcity, develop strategies rooted in fear, and exhaust themselves trying to squeeze water from stones, all while standing directly above the most abundant source of prosperity in existence. This revelation completely reframes our journey toward financial freedom. The core issue isn't that abundance is lacking in your life. It's that you've been disconnected from your awareness of what's already there. The pathway to prosperity isn't about creating something new or attracting something distant. It's about removing the barriers that have been blocking your recognition of and access to what's already flowing. Joseph Murphy spoke often about this principle, explaining that abundance is not something we acquire, it's something we tune into. This tuning process happens most powerfully during sleep, when the analytical mind that constantly builds dams of doubt and limitation finally quiets down. As these mental barriers temporarily dissolve during sleep, the golden river naturally begins to surface in your consciousness. The impact of this understanding revolutionizes how we approach abundance work. Instead of struggling to manufacture prosperity through sheer effort and will, we simply need to remove the obstacles that have been preventing its natural flow. This is why sleep programming proves so remarkably effective. It bypasses the conscious mind's resistance and works directly with the subconscious to dissolve these barriers at their source. Behind the scenes of this transformation lies a profound shift in your relationship with the universe itself. Most people operate from an unconscious assumption that they're separate from abundance, that wealth exists out there somewhere and must somehow be coaxed or cajoled into their experience. But this perception of separation is the fundamental illusion that sleep programming works to dissolve. The journey from scarcity to abundance consciousness isn't about changing your external circumstances. It's about remembering your true relationship with the golden river that's been flowing within and around you all along. This remembering process catalyzes what spiritual teachers call the great reversal, where instead of chasing prosperity, you begin allowing it to find you through paths of least resistance. Think of it like this. A fish born in the ocean might develop the mistaken belief that it's separate from water, that water is scarce and must be hunted and captured. It might exhaust itself swimming frantically, searching everywhere for this precious resource, never realizing that what it seeks is the very medium it moves through, the very substance that gives it life and supports its existence. In the same way, many of us have developed the illusion that we're separate from abundance, that prosperity is scarce and must be pursued through exhausting effort. We fail to recognize that the golden river of divine supply is the very medium we move through, the substance that has been supporting us all along, even during times when its presence wasn't obvious to our limited perception. The decisions you make from this elevated understanding look completely different. Instead of asking, "How can I get more money?" you begin wondering, where are the places in my consciousness where I've been damming the natural flow of abundance? Instead of focusing on lack and limitation, you start noticing the countless ways prosperity has been supporting you all along, even when you didn't recognize its presence. What makes sleep programming so transformative is how it works with this awareness. At the deepest level, as abundance affirmations flow through your sleeping consciousness, they don't just give you positive thoughts about wealth. They literally dissolve the dams of doubt and limitation that have been blocking your recognition of and access to the golden river. Each night becomes an opportunity to sink your awareness deeper into the flow that's been waiting for you all along. This understanding creates a profound shift in your energetic signature. Instead of broadcasting the frequency of lack and limitation, you begin emanating the natural confidence that comes from knowing you're always supported by infinite supply. This vibrational shift naturally attracts different circumstances, opportunities, and resources that align with your new state of awareness. If you're sensing the truth of this golden river flowing beneath your life, type infinite supply in the comments. I'd love to connect with those who are awakening to the abundance that's been here all along. But Here's where the journey takes a profound turn as you allow yourself to recognize this underlying prosperity. You begin to enter what can only be described as a sanctuary, not a physical place, but a state of consciousness where divine law reigns supreme. In this inner sanctuary, something magical happens. Your spoken word begins to merge with faith in ways that create what Joseph Murphy calls radiant decrees. These aren't ordinary affirmations or wishful thinking. When you speak from this sanctuary state during sleep programming, your words carry the authority of spiritual law itself. They become living commands that summon wealth from every corner of creation. Your like on this video creates ripples of transformation. When you click that button, you help expand this message to others who are ready for their abundance awakening. Behind the scenes of the visible world, invisible forces begin responding to your voice with the same obedience that water shows to gravity. This process reveals the hidden mechanics of true manifestation. Most people try to create change from the outside in, working harder, pushing against circumstances, forcing outcomes through will and effort. But the sanctuary approach works from the inside out, transforming the fundamental frequencies that determine what flows into your experience. This inside-out transformation represents a complete reversal of how most of us have been taught to pursue prosperity. The conventional wisdom tells us that we must first have more money in order to feel abundant, that external circumstances must change before our internal state can shift. But this approach has it precisely backward. True manifestation begins with a transformation of consciousness that then attracts corresponding external conditions. Think of it like this. Your consciousness is like the projector in a movie theater, while your life circumstances are the images on the screen. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change the pictures on the screen without ever touching the projector that's creating those images. They push against circumstances, fight limitations, and struggle to force better outcomes, never realizing that they're addressing effects rather than causes. The sanctuary state of consciousness allows you to work directly with the projector itself, the source of your experienced reality. When you change the film in your consciousness through properly aligned sleep programming, the images on the screen of your life naturally begin to shift in response. This isn't magical thinking, it's the fundamental principle behind all lasting transformation. Joseph Murphy understood this profound truth when he wrote, "Change your thinking, change your life." He wasn't offering a simplistic positive thinking formula. He was revealing the sacred mechanism by which consciousness creates experience. When your internal state shifts from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to possibility, from fear to faith, your external circumstances must eventually realign to match this new frequency. The revelation that transforms everything is understanding that you don't have to wait for external conditions to change before you can enter this sanctuary state. You can access it tonight as you drift into sleep with abundance affirmations flowing through your consciousness. In this sacred space, your spoken word merges with faith to create decrees that carry divine authority, not because of who you are in the world's eyes, but because of who you truly are as an extension of infinite intelligence. What makes this approach so revolutionary is how it bypasses the usual obstacles to transformation. During your waking hours, countless distractions, doubts, and concerns compete for your attention, making it difficult to maintain a consistent vibration of abundance. But in the sanctuary of sleep, when external noise fades away and your conscious resistance is offline, you can sustain that perfect frequency without interruption for hours at a time. This sustained immersion creates what quantum physicists might call a coherent field, a stable vibration that begins attracting corresponding experiences into your life with remarkable precision. It's as if you're broadcasting on the exact frequency that abundance recognizes and responds to, drawing opportunities, resources, and inspired ideas that perfectly match your newly aligned state. The journey of this inside-out transformation often surprises people with how naturally external circumstances begin to reflect internal shifts. Relationships that were once strained around money topics suddenly become smoother. Financial decisions that used to cause anxiety start flowing with intuitive ease. Opportunities that seemed hidden or inaccessible begin appearing as if they were waiting for you all along. And here's the beautiful paradox. The less you strive to change your external circumstances through force and effort, the more rapidly they transform to match your shifted consciousness. It's like struggling against a powerful current versus finally aligning with its natural flow. When you stop fighting against what is and start working with the inside-out principle, everything changes with remarkable grace and ease. The inner sanctuary becomes your true power center, the sacred space where you commune with divine law and issue commands that the universe must obey, not because you've somehow gained control over external forces, but because you've aligned with the fundamental principles that govern all manifestation. If you've experienced moments of this sanctuary state, where your words seemed to carry unexpected power and your consciousness felt aligned with something greater than yourself, type "sanctuary accessed" in the comments. I'd love to hear from those who've glimpsed this profound state of alignment. Now I want to reveal something even more foundational that transforms the very core of how abundance flows into your experience. Think about this for a moment. What if the greatest barrier to your prosperity isn't external circumstances or even limiting beliefs, but something far more fundamental, your perception of your own worthiness? Here's a hidden truth that most people never discover. You are counted among the beloved, not because of what you've accomplished or failed to accomplish, not because of your bank balance or your mistakes, but simply because of who you are at the deepest level. This isn't religious sentiment or wishful thinking. This is the fundamental reality of your existence. When this recognition dawns, your entire relationship with sleep transforms from a mere biological function into a sacred communion with divine source. The impact of this shift in perspective is immediate and powerful. Your nervous system begins to release decades of accumulated tension. Your breath naturally deepens. That chronic background anxiety about money, about security, about whether you're doing enough or being enough starts to dissolve into something far more supportive, a gentle knowing that you are held, you are seen, and you are provided for. This is where the hidden mechanics of true abundance begin to reveal themselves. Gratitude doesn't become something you have to manufacture or perform. It rises naturally from your heart like a spring bubbling up from deep underground. You begin to recognize the safety that has always surrounded you, the love that has never abandoned you, the provision that has consistently found ways to reach you even in your darkest moments. The revelation here transforms your entire approach to manifestation. Most people exhaust themselves trying to convince the universe of their worthiness, pleading and straining to prove they deserve good things. But when you understand your beloved status, you realize that none of that struggle was ever necessary. You don't have to earn divine love, you simply receive it by being present to what's already true. This shift in mindset creates what Joseph Murphy called a receptive frequency. Instead of broadcasting desperation or need, your energy field begins emanating a quiet confidence that abundance is natural, that provision is already handled, that everything you require is already on its way. This frequency acts like a beacon in the spiritual realm, drawing to you the very things you've been chasing with so much effort. During sleep, when you rest in this awareness of being beloved, your subconscious receives what can only be described as divine downloads. Solutions appear not through mental gymnastics, but through gentle inspiration. Opportunities align not through networking and manipulation, but through what feels like graceful synchronicity. Money flows not through desperate hustle, but through channels that seem to open effortlessly. The journey from striving to receiving represents one of the most profound transformations available to human consciousness. It's the difference between swimming upstream against a powerful current and finally turning around to discover you've been fighting the very force that wanted to carry you home. When you make decisions from this place of recognized belovedness, every choice becomes an expression of abundance rather than a hedge against scarcity. What's particularly fascinating is how this inner shift begins to reshape your external world almost immediately. People respond differently to your energy. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly become obvious. Resources that seemed scarce begin appearing from unexpected directions. It's as if the entire universe conspires to confirm what you finally allowed yourself to believe, that you are worthy of good things, that prosperity is your natural state, that abundance is not something you achieve, but something you remember. Behind the scenes of this transformation lies a fundamental rewiring of your relationship with reality itself. Most people approach life from a transactional mindset, believing they must give in order to receive, work in order to earn, strive in order to deserve. But the beloved consciousness operates from a completely different paradigm, one where receiving precedes giving, where rest precedes productive action, where worthiness is inherent rather than achieved. This shift ripples through every aspect of your being. Your decisions become more intuitive, your relationships more authentic, your creativity more expansive, and your financial flow more natural. You stop approaching prosperity as something you must hunt down and capture, and begin recognizing it as the natural extension of who you already are. If you've felt moments where this beloved state seemed to transform your external reality, where acceptance of your inherent worthiness created unexpected blessings, share beloved and blessed in the comments. I'm deeply curious about how this consciousness has manifested in your own experience. Now, I want to explore this divine download phenomenon more deeply because it represents one of the most extraordinary benefits of aligning with abundance during sleep. When your conscious mind finally quiets and you rest in the awareness of your beloved status, something remarkable begins to happen within your consciousness. Your subconscious mind, that vast, powerful aspect of yourself that connects directly to infinite intelligence, becomes a perfect receiver for what Joseph Murphy called divine downloads. These aren't abstract concepts or vague inspirations. They're specific solutions, creative breakthroughs, and practical insights delivered with remarkable clarity and precision. Have you ever gone to bed puzzling over a complex problem only to wake up with the answer fully formed in your awareness? Or fallen asleep worried about a financial situation and awakened with an inspired idea that completely transforms your approach? These aren't coincidences or random mental processes. They're examples of divine downloads occurring through the portal of your sleeping consciousness. What makes these downloads so powerful is their perfect alignment with your unique gifts, talents, and circumstances. They don't arrive as generic advice or one-size-fits-all formulas. They come as custom-tailored solutions specifically designed for your particular situation. It's as if the infinite intelligence of the universe has intimate knowledge of every aspect of your life, and craft solutions that integrate perfectly with your specific journey. During your waking hours, these downloads often can't break through the mental static created by worry, analysis, and the constant stream of external information bombarding your awareness. Your conscious mind, with all its logical processes and analytical thinking, actually blocks the very intuitive guidance that would solve your problems effortlessly. But in sleep, when this interference falls away, divine intelligence can communicate directly with your subconscious without distortion or resistance. The architecture of this process reveals why inspired solutions feel so different from those created through mental effort. When you strain to solve a problem through logical analysis, you're limited to the information you consciously possess and the connections your analytical mind can make between known factors. But divine downloads tap into what William James called the more, that vast reservoir of wisdom, creativity and possibility that exists beyond the boundaries of your conscious awareness. This explains why sleep-inspired solutions often have that unmistakable quality of elegant simplicity that makes you wonder, why didn't I think of that before? They bypass the limitations of conscious reasoning and emerge from a deeper intelligence that sees patterns, connections, and possibilities invisible to your waking mind. The journey from striving to receiving represents perhaps the most profound paradigm shift in the entire abundance process. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that financial success requires constant effort, persistent struggle, and relentless pushing against resistance. We've adopted a mindset that equates worthiness with exhaustion, as if the universe will only reward us when we've proven our commitment through suffering. But this approach is like swimming upstream against a powerful current, exhausting yourself, fighting against the very force that was designed to carry you home. The transformative insight that changes everything is recognizing that abundance isn't something you chase, but something you allow. It's not a distant destination you must struggle toward, but a natural flow you finally stop resisting. Think of a leaf caught in a river eddy, spinning in circles, using all its energy just to stay in place. This represents the striving mindset, constantly exerting effort but making little forward progress. Now imagine that same leaf, finally releasing its resistance and allowing the current to carry it effortlessly downstream. This is the receiving consciousness, aligning with the natural flow of abundance rather than fighting against it. During sleep programming, this shift from striving to receiving happens at the deepest level of your being. The affirmations you hear don't just give you positive thoughts about prosperity, they literally rewire your nervous system to release the tension patterns associated with pushing and struggling. Your entire being begins to remember what it feels like to be carried by grace rather than propelled by force. What's particularly fascinating is how this receptive state creates what quantum physicists might call a path of least resistance. When you cease struggling against the current and align with divine flow, opportunities, resources, and solutions naturally gravitate toward you through the most efficient channels possible. It's not that you stop taking action, it's that your actions become inspired rather than desperate, aligned rather than forced, flowing rather than fragmented. If you've experienced that beautiful moment of surrender, where you finally stop swimming upstream and turn to flow with life's current, type "aligned with grace" in the comments. I'd love to hear how that shift transformed your experience of abundance. When your decisions flow from a place of belovedness rather than unworthiness, a remarkable transformation begins to unfold in every area of your life. This isn't just a psychological shift or a temporary emotional uplift. It's a fundamental recalibration of your entire reality field. People literally respond differently to your energy because you're broadcasting a completely different frequency into the world. Where once your aura might have radiated the subtle signals of not enough or unworthy, it now emanates the quiet confidence of someone who knows they belong at the banquet table of abundance. This energetic shift catalyzes what Joseph Murphy called that were always present but invisible to your previous vibration suddenly become obvious. Resources that seem perpetually scarce begin appearing from unexpected directions. Relationships that were strained around money topics transform as if by magic. What's happening behind the scenes is a profound recalibration of your energetic signature. Every thought, feeling, and belief you hold about yourself radiates outward like an invisible broadcast, attracting corresponding experiences back to you. When your core identity shifts from unworthy struggler to beloved child of infinite supply, the entire universe must reorganize itself to match this new frequency. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers with two different mindsets. In the first scenario, you enter believing you don't belong, that you're somehow less than everyone else, that you need to prove your worth. In the second, you enter knowing you're unconditionally beloved, inherently valuable, naturally worthy of connection. Would these two mindsets create different experiences? Of course. The same principle applies to your relationship with abundance. When you approach your financial life from the consciousness of belovedness, everything changes. The evidence of this transformation often appears in ways that seem almost miraculous. The perfect opportunity arrives just when you need it. The exact amount of money you require shows up through an unexpected channel. The solution to a complex problem downloads into your awareness with perfect timing. These aren't random coincidences, but the natural consequences of your shifted consciousness. Now, I want to explore how this belovedness awareness transforms the very nature of your sleep experience. When you embrace your status as beloved and allow gratitude to flow naturally from this recognition, something extraordinary happens to those 8 hours that most people experience as ordinary unconsciousness. Your sleep transforms into what can only be described as a night of miracles. A sacred time when divine intelligence works unimpeded to reshape your consciousness at the deepest levels. This isn't poetic language or spiritual metaphor. While your physical body rests, a remarkable process unfolds within your subconscious mind. Every limiting belief you've carried, every financial story that has kept you small, every inherited pattern of scarcity begins to dissolve under the gentle but persistent influence of spiritual truth. This process reveals one of the most profound hidden truths about manifestation. Transformation doesn't require struggle or force. When you align with the natural rhythms of consciousness, change happens as naturally as a flower blooming or a river flowing toward the sea. Your sleeping mind becomes like soft clay in the hands of divine wisdom, ready to be reshaped into patterns that reflect your true abundance. The impact of this nightly transformation extends far beyond what happens in your bedroom. As limitations get rewritten in the depths of your subconscious, your waking decisions begin to shift. You find yourself making choices from confidence rather than fear. Opportunities that once seemed impossible start feeling inevitable. Your entire relationship with money begins operating from a completely different paradigm. What's particularly fascinating is how this process impresses upon your sleeping mind a recognition that changes everything. The understanding that wealth is not something you have to earn, achieve, or deserve, but something you inherit simply by virtue of who you are. Wealth is your birthright, encoded into the very fabric of your spiritual DNA, waiting only for your consciousness to become spacious enough to receive it. This is where the journey takes a remarkable turn toward the mystical. As your mind opens to these deeper truths, you begin to access what can only be described as visionary experiences. Many people report seeing what appears to be a great celestial door during this process, not with their physical eyes, but with the inner sight that awakens when consciousness expands beyond ordinary limitations. This door glows with symbols of infinite supply, ancient and eternal markings that speak directly to the soul's understanding of abundance. It's as if the universe itself is revealing its secret architecture, showing you the divine blueprints that govern prosperity and manifestation. Beyond this threshold, many glimpse rivers of gold sparkling with heaven's favor, flowing endlessly, never diminished, never restricted, always abundant. These aren't hallucinations or wishful fantasies, they're glimpses into what mystics have called the archetypal realm, the dimension where all possibilities exist in their perfected form, waiting to manifest into physical reality. When your consciousness touches this level during sleep programming, you're not just listening to affirmations, you're connecting with the source code of abundance itself. If you've experienced these glimpses of the abundance beyond the veil, these moments where your sleeping consciousness touched something greater than ordinary reality, share divine blueprint activated in the comments. I'm fascinated by how these mystical experiences manifest uniquely for different individuals. The revelations that emerge from these visionary experiences often surprise people with their clarity and practical impact. You might wake up with a business idea that seems to have downloaded fully formed. Financial solutions that eluded you for months suddenly become obvious. People and opportunities begin appearing in your life with perfect timing, as if orchestrated by an invisible intelligence that sees the bigger picture. Now, I want to explore what happens when you truly commit to this nightly transformation process. What you're experiencing represents nothing less than an exodus from the desert of lack. That barren landscape where so many spend their entire lives convinced that scarcity is normal, that struggle is necessary, that not enough is the natural state of human existence. This desert hasn't been your true home. You've been wandering there not because you deserve punishment or because abundance is unavailable to you, but because you inherited maps drawn by others who themselves were lost. Parents, teachers, mentors, and cultural influences, many well-meaning, but themselves trapped in scarcity consciousness, handed you guidance based on their own limited understanding. The journey you're embarking on now isn't just a minor improvement in your financial circumstances. This is a complete migration from one spiritual territory to another. Like the biblical exodus from Egypt to the Promised Land, you're leaving behind the familiar limitations that have defined your experience and stepping into a completely new paradigm of possibility. Behind the scenes of this exodus lies a profound identity shift. In the desert of lack, you were a wanderer, confused, thirsty, constantly searching for just enough to survive another day. But in this new territory of abundance consciousness, you become a different person entirely, a citizen of plenty, with all the rights and privileges that entail. The hidden truth that makes this transformation possible is that the desert was never your punishment. It was simply the consequence of operating with inaccurate maps. And the Promised Land isn't your reward for good behavior. It's your natural habitat, the place your consciousness has been trying to find all along. This revelation completely reshapes how you understand your financial journey. Every struggle wasn't evidence of your failure, but simply the pain of using the wrong coordinates. What accelerates this exodus beyond anything you might have experienced Before is how the process unfolds during sleep. In those precious hours when your conscious mind finally rests, your manifestation power is magnified beyond measure. This isn't exaggeration or metaphor. It's a fundamental principle of how consciousness operates. During your waking hours, your conscious mind constantly filters, analyzes, questions, and often rejects new information, especially ideas that contradict your existing beliefs about what's possible. This critical faculty serves an important purpose in helping you navigate daily life, but it becomes a significant obstacle when you're trying to install new abundance programming. But in sleep, something miraculous happens. The gatekeeper finally takes a break. All those mental barriers that normally protect your limiting beliefs dissolve like morning mist. Your subconscious mind, which comprises roughly 95% of your total mental capacity, stands wide open like fertile soil, ready to receive whatever seeds you plant there. The impact of this receptive state cannot be overstated. Affirmations that might be met with doubt or resistance during waking hours sink directly into the deepest levels of your consciousness during sleep. Abundance programming that would normally take months or years to integrate can be installed in a fraction of the time because there's no resistance to overcome. This is why Joseph Murphy emphasized the extraordinary power of the sleeping state for manifestation work. He understood that an hour of properly aligned sleep programming often accomplishes more than weeks of conscious effort. Your mind isn't just passively absorbing information during these hours. It's actively reorganizing itself around these new frequencies of abundance. Think of it like the difference between trying to renovate a building while it's full of people versus making those same changes when it's empty. During your waking hours, your consciousness is occupied with immediate concerns, practical problems, emotional responses, and sensory input. Making significant changes to your abundance blueprint is like trying to replace the foundation while people are still walking on the floors above. But during sleep, the building empties out. The constant activity subsides. Now those same renovations can happen quickly, efficiently, and completely. Entire belief systems can be removed and replaced without disruption because the normal obstacles to change are temporarily offline. The journey of working with this magnified power often surprises people with how quickly changes begin to manifest in their waking experience. Ideas and inspirations that seemed blocked suddenly flow with ease. Opportunities that appeared distant begin showing up in your immediate environment. Resources that seemed unavailable start finding their way to you through unexpected channels. All of these external changes reflect what's happening at the deepest level of your consciousness as you make this exodus from scarcity to abundance thinking. You're not just adopting new thoughts about prosperity, you're literally becoming a different person with a transformed relationship to the entire concept of supply. If you've noticed this exodus beginning in your own life, these first signs of leaving the desert of lack behind and glimpsing the promised land of abundance, type crossing over in the comments. I'm deeply interested in connecting with fellow travelers who are making this sacred journey. Now, I want to explore what happens in those sacred hours of sleep that makes them so incredibly powerful for transformation. Understanding this process will forever change how you view those 8 hours that most people dismiss as merely downtime or rest. Your sleeping hours transform your inner landscape into what can only be described as the great hidden workshop of spirit. This isn't just poetic language. This is the actual spiritual technology that molds unseen substance into tangible reality. During your waking hours, Your mind is constantly bombarded with external stimuli, internal chatter, and endless streams of information that create what neuroscientists call cognitive load. Your thoughts bounce from worry to planning to memory to fantasy, creating a kind of mental static that interferes with pure spiritual reception. But when sleep arrives and this noise finally quiets, something extraordinary happens behind the scenes of consciousness. Your subconscious mind, now free from the constant interference of mental noise, becomes like a master craftsman's workshop, perfectly organized, completely focused, ready to transform raw spiritual material into the forms that will manifest in your physical experience. Every abundance affirmation you hear during this time doesn't just float through your awareness and disappear. It gets taken into this workshop where invisible hands begin shaping it into the blueprint for your financial reality. The impact of this process extends far beyond what happens during sleep itself. The decisions you make during your waking hours, the opportunities you notice, the actions you feel inspired to take, all of these emerge from the deep work happening in this subconscious workshop. Your conscious mind might think it's running the show, but the real architecture of transformation is being built in the depths where spirit has complete creative freedom. Joseph Murphy understood this principle deeply when he wrote about the sleeping giant within each person, that vast intelligence that awakens most fully when the conscious mind rests. What makes this process so remarkably effective is how the conscious mind's role changes during sleep. Throughout your waking hours, your conscious mind functions like a vigilant gatekeeper, constantly evaluating, analyzing, questioning every piece of information that approaches your awareness. This gatekeeper has been trained by years of experience to be skeptical about abundance, suspicious of easy solutions, and protective of the familiar patterns that define your current financial reality. This gatekeeper means well, but it often blocks the very transformation you're seeking. When you hear abundance affirmations during waking hours, the gatekeeper immediately springs into action with questions like, is this realistic? Do I really deserve this? How could this possibly work given my current situation? These doubts and reasonings create resistance that prevents the spiritual programming from taking root. But here's where the journey takes a remarkable turn. During sleep, this protective gatekeeper finally takes a well-deserved rest. The analytical mind that normally filters and questions everything steps aside, creating what spiritual teachers call pure receptivity. Your subconscious becomes like a clear pool of water, perfectly still, capable of receiving and reflecting divine impressions without distortion. In this state of pure receptivity, abundance, affirmations bypass all mental resistance and sink directly into the fertile soil of your deeper consciousness. There's no debate, no analysis, no questioning, just direct impression upon the creative faculty that actually shapes your experience. This is why sleep programming often succeeds where waking efforts fail. The very mechanism that normally sabotages transformation is temporarily offline. Behind the scenes of this receptive state, your subconscious mind works according to principles completely different from your conscious awareness. While your conscious mind evaluates based on past experience and apparent limitation, your subconscious operates from pure creative potential. It doesn't know what's impossible or unrealistic. It simply receives the impressions given to it and begins organizing your perception and behavior to align with these new patterns. This principle reveals why people often experience what seems like miraculous shifts after consistent sleep programming. Ideas that seemed impossible suddenly appear obvious. Opportunities that were invisible become apparent. Resources that seemed unavailable start appearing through unexpected channels. Your subconscious that master craftsman working tirelessly in the workshop of your sleeping consciousness, is literally rebuilding your relationship with abundance from the ground up. The revelations that emerge from this understanding completely reframe how you approach abundance work. Instead of trying to convince your conscious mind to believe in prosperity, often an exhausting and frustrating process, you can work directly with the subconscious during its most receptive hours. You're essentially bypassing the gatekeeper and going straight to the creative source. What's particularly fascinating about this workshop process is how it operates on multiple dimensions simultaneously. While you sleep, your subconscious isn't just absorbing new information about abundance, it's actively reorganizing your entire relationship with prosperity. Old limiting beliefs are being dissolved, restrictive patterns are being rewired, and new possibilities are being embedded into the very structure of your consciousness. If you've experienced those unmistakable signs of the workshop at work, waking with inspired ideas that weren't there when you fell asleep, noticing opportunities that were previously invisible, or feeling a mysterious confidence about financial matters that once caused anxiety, share Workshop Activated in the comments. I'd love to hear how this transformative process is manifesting uniquely in your life. Now, I want to explore one of the most profound biblical principles that holds the key to understanding how transformation actually happens at the deepest level. There's an ancient wisdom that states, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Most people misunderstand this completely, assuming it refers to the fleeting thoughts that dart through their minds throughout the day, those surface-level opinions and temporary emotions that come and go like clouds across the sky. But here's the hidden truth that changes everything about how you approach abundance programming. The heart, in this context, doesn't refer to surface-level thinking at all. It represents those deep subconscious convictions that operate beneath your conscious awareness, the fundamental beliefs about reality, worthiness, and possibility that actually govern your experience. Whether you're aware of them or not, these heart-level convictions are incredibly powerful because they operate behind the scenes of your daily decisions and automatic responses. When you encounter a financial opportunity, your surface mind might analyze the pros and cons, but your deep subconscious convictions have already determined whether you'll recognize it as viable, whether you'll feel worthy of pursuing it, and whether you'll take the actions necessary to make it successful. The impact of this understanding is staggering. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change their circumstances through surface-level thinking and conscious effort, never realizing that their heart-level convictions are continuously recreating the same patterns. They might affirm abundance during the day, while their subconscious convictions whisper, "This isn't for someone like me," or "good things don't last," or "money is the root of all evil." This is where the journey into sleep programming becomes truly transformative, because it allows you to work directly with these heart-level convictions during the hours when they're most malleable. Joseph Murphy understood this principle deeply when he wrote about the law of the subconscious, the recognition that our deepest beliefs, not our conscious declarations, determine what manifests in our experience. Think about the decisions you've made around money throughout your life, the opportunities you've embraced or avoided, the risks you've taken or declined, the patterns of saving, spending, earning, and investing that have shaped your financial reality. None of these were random choices. They all emerged from your heart-level convictions about who you are in relationship to abundance. The truly liberating insight is that these convictions aren't fixed or permanent. They're simply programs that were installed through repetition and emotional intensity, often during childhood when your critical faculty wasn't fully developed. And just as they were installed, they can be updated, overwritten, or completely replaced through properly aligned sleep programming. Your subconscious mind operates according to completely different principles than your conscious mind. While your conscious mind questions, analyzes, and resists, your subconscious functions as what Joseph Murphy called the faithful servant. This faithful servant doesn't argue with the instructions it receives. It doesn't reason about whether something is possible or impossible, deserved or undeserved, realistic or fantastical. It simply receives whatever impressions are given to it, believes them completely, and immediately begins the process of creating experiences that match those impressions. This is both the incredible power and the profound responsibility of subconscious programming. Every thought, image, and feeling you consistently entertain is being received by this faithful servant as an instruction to manifest in your experience. The revelations that emerge from understanding this faithful servant nature of the subconscious explain why consistency and rhythm are so crucial in abundance work. Your subconscious doesn't respond to occasional bursts of positive thinking or sporadic affirmations delivered with wavering conviction. It responds to repeated impressions delivered with steady, rhythmic consistency over time. Think of it like learning to play a musical instrument. You don't become proficient through one intense practice session or by occasionally picking up the instrument when you feel motivated. Mastery develops through daily practice, through consistent repetition that gradually rewires your neural pathways until complex movements become automatic and natural. Sleep programming works according to the same principles, but with a tremendous advantage. During sleep, when your conscious resistance is offline, every affirmation reaches your subconscious with pristine clarity. There's no mental static, no analytical interference, no emotional turbulence to distort the signal. Your faithful servant receives each impression in its purest form and immediately begins the work of transformation. What's particularly fascinating is how this process creates what neuroscientists call